You'll lose spirit once you witness my glory!
LF Cell, no, the other one. And I have a bit of a weird claim. I think LF Cell isn't really a Legends Limited character, or at least he wasn't meant to be at first. And I think my claim does make sense, but first we have to break down his actual animations. We start out on a high note with his windscreen. It's crazy how such a small bit of extra detail can make all the difference. The laughing at the beginning takes us from nothing special to very, very cool. His cover change is pretty standard as far as strike cover changes go, but the hits have pretty good impact and the poses fit Cell's animation language well. His Rising Rush pose is pretty alright. It's not crazy, but I can't really say it's bad. I'm a fan of his strike arts. The hits are clean and swift. The poses are nice and there's not a lot of extra flair, but I actually like that as it helps it to stand out from a lot of other strikes. Though I do wish the last hit felt a bit stronger. Now his green is okay, but I do have my problems with it. Starting off, there is a noticeable lack of detail in his movements here. Animations in this game usually have a good sense of weight and follow through and will usually put a lot of detail into the small movements. That's missing here and you can really feel it, especially if you're looking for it. I'm also not really a fan of the effects in his hand here. Again, it just feels weirdly unfinished. But I do like how this second shot opens with the blast swiping across the screen. Now, these effects here, I swear I've seen them in this game before, but for the life of me, I can't figure out where. If you know what other character uses these effects, please let me know, it's driving me insane. Regardless, they are nice and do work well here. His blue, again, just feels a bit unfinished to me. We start with these two hits and they don't really land well for me. They're too fast to have proper impact, and I think if they just went with one hit using the same amount of time, it could have been better, but this is kind of a nitpick. Now, on a different note, this cone, if that's the right word, looks amazing. I'm a really big fan of this. I also really like how the blast suddenly grows to swallow the entire screen, and the enemy's pose is changed to add further impact. This is the kind of detail I want to see in his animations. But again, with another complaint, it really feels like the enemy is just in front of the beam instead of inside it. To be fair, they are literally in front of it, but it's supposed to give the illusion that they're inside of it, and I feel that wasn't done well here. But onto the legendary finish version of this attack. Starting with the moment the LF begins and he charges his attack a bit extra, I like this moment. They let it take its time to give impact to the realization that the LF is happening. Next, when he's firing the blast, the detail of him being surrounded by ki is very good. I also really like all of these shots of the beam traveling, and the beam itself looks very nice. I also like how in this shot it grows to take over the entire screen. And the shot of the enemy inside the beam is also done much better here. I especially like the lighting. But I do still have my problems with this animation. Now, I've complained in the past about some animations not giving important moments time to breathe and overall going too fast. But I think this animation almost has the opposite problem, where it extends shots or shows the same thing from different angles to make up time and make up for its lack of substance. There's really not a lot going on here, so they hold onto shots and add screen shake to give it that LF feel, but it just feels to me like a bad imitation. Even the fact that it has a shot so similar in concept to the standard version of the attack, but just flipped, makes his LF feel like it was just kind of tacked on. Like these animations weren't designed at the same time. And all this begs the question, what makes a Legends Limited unit? Does their quality have to be held to a noticeably high standard, or is it just the fact that the text comes up and says so? He doesn't have much more going on than your average sparking in terms of animation count or quality. If you look at Cell's animations, it really just seems like he was going to be your run-of-the-mill sparking, with noticeably blah animations at that, with one special animation that we haven't gotten to yet. Whether or not it's enough to make him deserve that Legends Limited title, I'll leave that up to you. Finally, some good food. Also, I have no way of recording this myself, so I have to use the Twitter video. I'm sorry. The effects here are gross, like how he's barely holding back his vomit at the beginning, but they're also very well done. I also like how they have him pick his head up into frame to reveal that he's back in his second form. That shows excellent attention to detail in the storyboarding and framing of this animation. Now, I don't really like this first impact that we get. The cyan and the way the lighting barely changes just doesn't do it for me. Also, the background cuts off his tail. God, I wish I had better footage for this. But then we get this second impact, which is much better in my opinion. His head expanding here is very well animated and a very fun moment. I also like how they use the black part of his stomach as a scene transition. And this model of Fat Cell is absolutely fantastic, and the expression is so much fun and has a ton of character. And we get this beautiful explosion. I love the amount of detail in it and the changing colors. I also like this black circle around it that's used to give it form. Now this is a good animation. Cell feels so strange to me. He really is just a character based around a single animation and everything else feels so obviously phoned in. I guess I have to give him a 5 out of 10. And if you disagree, ask yourself whether anyone is really going to remember this guy in a few months' time. And that's where this video was supposed to end, but there have been some recent developments. I'm recording this the day the Ginyu Force units were revealed, and people are pissed that we didn't get an LF or an Ultra, despite this seeming to be one of the highest quality banners we've ever gotten animation-wise, and all of the units are at a 1% summon rate. But the fancy text didn't come up, so people aren't happy, despite these characters being higher quality than a lot of LFs. This essentially guarantees that we'll be getting more units like this Cell in the future. But don't worry, at least the Cheese Man will still be here to complain about it.